Postgame. 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 Postgame.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Postgame. I had just a couple of things I wanted to talk about. One very short thing, and then one thing that I wanted to get out in the air because it's becoming very relevant. So the first thing, the Yankees lifted their beard rule, which is something that I'm sure most people didn't expect. So that's cool. I think that'll open up a lot of free agent opportunities for them. The thing about it is, are you gonna turn down a contract from the Yankees just because you don't want to shave your beard? But the other thing about it is, there's 29 other teams, and chances are, if the Yankees want you, the 29 other teams are gonna want you, right? So that's my thinking. But anyways, beard rule should have been never established, in my opinion. I think it's a stupid rule. I like the idea of them being well-groomed. You know, you still want to look nice and present yourself well, but the idea of no beards is stupid. Anyways, time to go on to the main point of this bonus episode. A spring training has started for the MLB, and unless somebody's been tricking me on social media, there is a robot ump system that is there to challenge ball and strike calls. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think the challenging of ball and strike calls is a bad thing. However, some people are pushing for complete robot umps, take the humans out of it. My thing about that, and I am a firm believer in this. If you use a robot ump, especially for home plate, you take out half of the role of being a catcher. See, a catcher's job is to make the pitcher look good, right? That's why framing is not only something that all catchers do, it's a stat, I believe. It's how successful are you with framing the pitches? Because you're trying to trick the umpire behind you into thinking something was a strike, even if it may have been outside the zone or above or below, something like that. If we were to have robot umps, especially behind home plate, that role for the catcher is irrelevant. All he has to do now is stop the ball and just be there in case somebody else steals. Which it's not like that's not important. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the catcher's job to make the pitcher look good becomes obsolete. He doesn't have to catch the ball and put it in the strike zone. He can just basically be playing catch. Catch it, bring it to his other hand, and throw it back. I think framing is an important part of catching because it takes advantage of the human element. If you take that out, a catcher just becomes a shorter backstop, in my opinion. I like the idea of challenging a strike call or a ball call. I like it because it forces umpires to be a little more accurate and bring their zone in a little bit. But there's also the other side of me where it's like in Little League. You know, sometimes the umpire would even just tell you his zone. This is where I'm calling strikes. This is where a strike won't be called. Just swing for it. Some zones are stupid, like the edge of the batter's box to the other edge of the batter's box. That's the stupidest thing I've heard for a strike zone, in my opinion. But it's still, it does force umpires to be a little more accurate and bring their zone in and kind of keep it the same throughout the whole league, or as close as you can, because when you're calling strikes on an Aaron Judge, it's going to look a lot different from Jose Altuve. But to completely take out the human and make it robotic I think just takes the 9 positions on the field down to like 8.5. Because there hundreds of pitches are thrown in a game from one side most of the time. You know, you may get like 150 to 200 pitches in a game just from one team. There's not something happening on every single pitch. The catcher and the pitcher, however, are involved in every single pitch. And it's mostly the catcher's job to make a borderline call look like a strike. If you have a completely robotic ump, you take out that role entirely for the catcher. So, I'm going to summarize here. I like the idea of challenging ball and strike calls because it forces umpires to bring their zone in and keep it the same throughout the league to a certain extent. However, to replace the home plate umpire with a robot ump, it may make it more accurate, but it takes out half of the catcher's role. So I think robot umps should stick to challenging calls, that's balls and strike calls, but they should not replace the human behind the human backstop. That's my take. Thank you for joining me on Postgame today. I just felt like I had to come on and talk about this because it has become more and more of a topic of conversation as minor league systems have started using it. And now obviously major league teams are using it in spring training. So I wanted to get this opinion out there because I think it's important to remember that the human aspect of the game makes the game more interesting. Do some umpires call a horrible game? Yes, I understand. And it's annoying. But sometimes that's the catcher's fault. And I think we need to keep human umpires back there to help the catcher be more important than he already is. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next Friday.
Postgame. Postgame.